Greetings, YouTube. Now, of the official Wizards of the Coast 3.5 Splat books, one of my favorites was the Player's Handbook 2. And what I loved about it were all the options, all the variant class rules. So when they announced they were going to be doing an advanced player's guide for the Pathfinder game, I was thrilled. I was hoping that the advanced player's guide would hit that same sweet spot for me that the Player's Handbook 2 did. And it did. It scored a bullseye. I've got a bunch of notes here, so I'm going to try to run this down and try to squeeze it into one video. First section deals with races, and each race gives a little blurb about how that race deals with different classes, like, what is the iconic dwarven fighter, or the elven sorcerer, or the halfling rogue, things like that. Then they're going to give you some variant options. The variant options swap out one racial characteristic for another racial characteristic. Unfortunately, I forgot to write down what they swap out, but these are some of the options that they are presenting you. But they replace an existing racial characteristic. I apologize for that faux pas. For example, dwarves, one of their options is magic resistance. You get 5 plus your character level of magic resistance, but you also take a -2 on arcane concentration checks. Basically, you are better at resisting magic, but you also have a hard time dealing with it. Gnomes master tinker. You get a bonus to tinkering, to making things, and you become proficient with any weapon you craft. That presents a lot of interesting options for character builds. Your character loves the idea of a gnome double hook hammer, and yet your character is not of a class that can normally wield one. Make it yourself. Halfling, outrider, a +2 bonus to handle animals and ride. Really good if you want to have an animal companion that is a medium-sized creature that you can then use as a steed, as a mount. Each of these sections also has some favored class options. So you can kind of falling back on the 3.5 concept of having a favorite class for a race. And so each of these sections presents the player with a bunch of options, and these become your default bonuses you get if you stick with this favored class. So for example, if you have chosen to take Barbarian as your favorite class in your half-orc, one of the options available to you is a +1 round of rage for each level. So that increases your length of rage rather significantly over time, which is very handy if you are a barbarian. The next section of the book deals with classes, and these are the sections where they introduce new classes. And the new classes are the Alchemist, the Cavalier, the Inquisitor, the Oracle, the Summoner, and the Witch. Now, the Alchemist is just what that sounds like, the class concept of a person specializing in magical manipulation of chemicals and alchemical substances. One of their main classes feature is that they can make bombs, which they then throw like the Green Goblin. It kind of, to me, has the flavor of almost a warlock-like character, because they're throwing bombs every round whenever they choose. They also have the ability to use their chemicals to enhance themselves. So most of the abilities that this class has is about enhancing themselves. You really need to think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde here, chemically augmenting yourself to make yourself better, like a Rift's juicer in some regards. Very interesting character concept. A lot of options available to you. Next is the Cavalier. This is a full BAV class. You have a challenge ability where you're challenging someone to get them to get their focus on you, so that then you can interact with them in a combat manner. Big bonuses to mount. Mount is your mount is your main character class ability here. You get a selection of different orders, knightly orders. So kind of like how your character views the world from a moral, ethical standpoint. Are you very self-centered? Are you very altruistic? Are you purely militaristic? So there's a number of different orders available to you. Each one having a different set of abilities attached to it within that theme. What else we got in here? Now, the one thing I did think about the Cavalier is I see that adventurers have three main types of adventures. You have your urban adventures, you have your dungeon crawling, and then you have your outdoor stuff. If you're a Cavalier, you really excel at the outdoor stuff because you're all about the mount. Now, yes, you could play a halfling Cavalier on a medium creature, which means you can get that medium creature into other places, and that would be a viable option in my opinion. But for your average medium character, you're going to be riding a large animal, and that means you're going to have some limitations where you can take that. This is a build that you really have to talk about with your GM to make sure that you're going to be investing your character options in things that you're going to be able to do. If you're investing all this work into a Cavalier, and yet the bulk of your campaigning is going to be either under the ground or inside cities, this may not be the class for you. The Inquisitor, which is a holy judge, think Judge Dredd. He's all about representing a faith and going out and finding the wicked within that faith and correcting them. Or, that's a concept which can be played with from any angle. You could be an inquisitor for an evil cleric, and making sure that no one is slipping into the concepts of doing good. If you want to, I guess. And this, to me, is a class that really requires a certain kind of theocratic organization. It's not really a function of a grassroots faith. You really have to have churches. You have to have organized religion for this class, in my opinion, to really have some meat to chew on. But that's just me. They get up to 6 level spells, and they have a 3/4 BAB. So it's kind of like a cleric, but a little more judge and warrior-like. The next is the Oracle, and this is 3/4 BAB, charisma-based spells up to 9th level. You get a whole bunch of thematic mysteries, and these mysteries are, because you're an oracle, you're basically looking into the fabric of reality and trying to discover the actual how the universe works, kind of thing. And each of the mysteries says, like, for example, life, nature, and each of these themes then has abilities based on them. So you pick one for battle, and then there's a bunch of abilities that go up each level, which is kind of a nice concept. It also comes with a curse. Now, the curses, I think, added some nice flavor. For example, vision. You can have poor vision, but over time, the class kind of works its way around the poor vision. Yes, you can only see it to a certain distance because your eyes don't work well. They're cloudy. Would love to have glasses, but there aren't any. That kind of thing. But over time, you get the ability to have blind sense and things like that. There's deaf. Your character cannot hear sounds normally. Over time, that is mitigated as you gain in levels. So another one is lame, the classic concept of a limping oracle, which I kind of thought that was nice. This very much, to me, made me think of the classic Greek era. I thought of mazes and minotaurs when I was reading this class. We have the Summoner. The Summoner, in my opinion, really should have been called the Pokemon Master, because your class ability, the main class ability, is your Eidolon. The Eidolon is a creature that you summon to your side, and you grant it abilities that scale as you go up in levels. What you get is something called evolution points, and you can pump these evolution points into your Eidolon to make them more powerful, make them able to be better at combat, be better defending themselves. They can gain the ability to breathe water or fly with wings. So you can really customize this creature. You also gain some spells, which are limited selection up to 6th level, and you get the ability to do Summon Monster as a spell-like ability. But when you're casting Summon Monster, your Eidolon cannot be there, because both your Eidolon and the Summon Monster abilities are drawing from the same energy pool. So to my mind, it means that a summoner should really have wands of summoning monster, keep that available so that your Eidolon can always be at your side. Now, I read this class, and I'm thinking of a halfling summoner with a medium-sized eidolon that you start out as a mount, and then you build him into a really powerful medium-scale griffin. That would be so cool. You have the other two options, physical structures that you can have is it's a biped, so you can have a humanoid eidolon or a Medusa-style arms but a snake body. I really like this character class. I thought it was quite flavorful. There's a lot of tinkering here. This is a class for people who really want to get into the nuts and bolts of building the exact companion for their character. But yeah, it really was. Gotta catch them all, man. And the last is the witch. And this is kind of the classic European take on the witch. Now, one thing that bugged me about this, you only get 2 skill ranks. No class should ever get 2 skill ranks. I'm sorry, every class should have a minimum of 4 skill ranks. I think that the fact that that was not changed as a core element in Pathfinder is just criminal. And it's more so here. You get like, I think you get like access to 4 knowledge. That's just the knowledge abilities with this class, and you can't take a rank in each at first level if you want to. That kind of bothers me. Half-bab, 9th level spells, intelligence-based. All of your spells are focused in your familiar, so you're very much communing with your familiar. Your familiar is the focus of your arcane power. So that really is playing off that European slant that, the witch with their familiar. So it's kind of stereotypical witchy kind of abilities. You get a whole bunch of witch-type abilities that are based off of this. And in fact, in some ways, to me, the witch almost comes across as a better wizard. It's a wizard with a lot more flavor, in my opinion. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Pathfinder wizard. I think it's an improvement over 3.5. It's got a lot more going for it. But I almost think that the witch is not so much a player option as it really is almost a player replacement. It's, your mileage may vary, but I think that this character class really makes the wizard a little bland. But it's very interesting arcane caster class. I quite enjoyed it. Next we have the alternative class abilities, and this is what the section I was really looking forward to. It's the section I loved in the Player's Handbook 2, and I wanted to see how they did it here. Now, each section has a different take on it, because not all the classes are the same, so you're really going to have to offer different kinds of options for each class. Now, for example, the Barbarian has huge numbers of new rage powers. It was, to me, a little overwhelming. I've never really been into barbarians, and the number of options here is really high. If you like barbarians, man, and you felt that there weren't quite enough options available in the Pathfinder core rules, this alternative class feature is going to give you so much to play with. It was just really impressive. I was just like, wow, there's a whole lot here. Then we also have within each of these, within most of these have archetypes, like how to tailor your class to a specific type of theme. For example, the Brawler. You want to play a barbarian. It's all about getting in there with the little fisticuffs. They call the brutal pugilist. There you go. They have one which is the Breaker. It's all about sundering things, breaking down doors, crushing things, destroying things. And they give you options for your character. Plus, they give you a section that tells you which feats would be the best for you to pick, and like which rage powers would be the best way to pick to help you create that that theme that you're interested in. And there's a whole bunch of these, and I was quite impressed with the iconic nature here. Really mean the Breaker, the barbarian that rages and destroys things around. They're very Hulk-like. They did a nice job of doing that. And there is no possible way I'm going to get this all into one video. Thank you.